never really gone.
Okay, all set.
For sure.
Are we all back now?
We are.
Yay, it looks like we're all back again. Select board meeting for Monday, what is it, October 6th? We're reconvening. We've returned from executive session. Conservation Commission adjourned their meeting as soon as we were done the executive session, although a couple of them might be joining us for an agenda item ahead on the agenda. It's a reminder that the meetings are being recorded, and so people coming forward and talking, your voice and your image will be recorded. Our first presentation, Kristen, do you want to take it away? Excited to introduce the agenda item, but it sort of, takes all the thunder away. So
Sure. Would like to welcome Deborah Rolfe this evening from the Agricultural Commission. The community garden, which was established in 2012, has received an award from Tower Hill. So we wanted to have Deborah here on behalf of the garden. She, I believe, is a community garden manager is your official title? Yes, she is the manager of the community garden. And I just wanted to give folks a little bit of information. As you may remember, we built a large fence around the community garden a few years ago at town meeting that had a little bit of a controversial spin to it, but it's been going well, and very impressed by everything that the group has done. They have a native bee and butterfly garden. These are some of the projects that have happened over the years. Garlic. There are 20 by 20 plots of watermelon, butternut squash, acorn squash, pumpkins, seeding, and there's a tool rack that was built in the back of the shed by volunteers. The Girl Scouts did an award for bat houses and benches for gardeners, and they make weekly donations of produce and flowers to the Berlin Food Pantry and the BC4T Veterans Food Pantry. So I think Deborah can speak a little bit more than I can about the award, but it is a quite a prestigious award that they've received. The plots over at the community garden are cultivated by about 40 families per season. And there's a newspaper article here that for some reason is super small on my computer. Give me 1 second so I can read it. Let's see. Yeah. Frozen computer.
That's okay. We'll move on.
All right. Well, I will then turn it over to Deborah to speak about the award, because now that I'm seeing it's actually quite blurry, but it is a rather prestigious award that the garden has received. We wanted to have Deborah here on behalf of the garden to recognize her. She has also received some plaques and was asking if they could be placed somewhere in the town offices. So wanted to get some input from the select board as well on where a good location might be for that. We have our green communities town hanging in the hallway, so might be a nice place in the lobby when folks walk in by the town clerk's office. So I will turn it over to Deborah.
Great, thank you. We really appreciate the support that the town has given us over the years on this project, through financial support, obviously, as well as the CPA grant that we received to do the fence. That's really been a good touch to the garden. I think we've moved everything inside, so it's on a very busy road, and I think the gardeners really enjoy that sanctity that they get by being in there and enclosed, and everything is there to work with. So the award is from the Worcester County Horticultural Society, as well as the Botanic Garden at Tower Hill, and it's for using gardening to foster community connections and provide fresh, healthy produce to those in need. Then we also got citation from the Senate.
Oh, beautiful.
Fancy.
Fancy.
And a citation from the House of Reps.
Oh,
So-
good job, Megan, Robin. Nice.
So I'm hoping that these can be put
Yeah.
somewhere, since they don't go with the decor in my home. But I'm not going to say anything else. I think, Kristen gave a really great
Yeah.
overview, but I do want to tell you that at this point, we started donating to the Berlin food pantries on July 12th. First and third week is Berlin, 2 and 4 is the Veterans Pantry. We have one more donation week and the garden will be closed. But we've, at this point in time, donated 798 pounds of food.
Wow.
That doesn't
Oh.
include the flowers. The other really
Yeah.
beautiful thing that people got was we made little flower arrangements every week. We didn't weigh those,
Right.
but we felt that was a nice touch because flowers always make people feel better. So I thank you for,
And then the 40 plots, they're almost entirely Berlin residents at this point, right? Because
Yes.
early on,
Yeah.
we had to supplement with people from out of town, but.
yes, the people from the apartments, we're
Mhm.
starting to get more people from the apartments. And I don't, there's usually about 9 families, somewhere between 7 and 9 families from out of town. It's all waitlisted.
Mhm.
Berlin residents always get first crack at the plots, and then we waitlist people out of town. Word has gotten out about us.
Yeah.
So, and we think it's a nice thing to invite people from neighboring communities
Mhm.
to garden with us.
And
get
and
to know
although
each other.
this year is wrapping up, when would people start, like if they're interested for next year, start contacting the?
No, it comes out in the census. It
Okay.
comes,
Yeah.
the application gets mailed out with the census.
Okay,
And at the time that it comes out, we also post it on the website.
Mhm.
So we can always refer people back.
oh, great. I think it's wonderful that you're doing great work. It's again, to highlight some of the wonderful things that are happening in our small town.
Well, the nice thing too is that you put in more from what I would see whizzing by stand-up gardens. So for those that might be physically challenged, you're not on your knees all the time digging out weeds and things, that you can actually stand up and do great things as
Yeah.
well. So, that's wonderful to do to the community for folks who might want a garden, but just can't bend over and get back up.
Those are really, really popular.
Mhm.
We have 12 of them now,
Wow.
and we'll put in another one this year. We're running, well, we're not running out of space. We have space, but we have to be able to
Move around.
move around. So probably about 14 is where we'll cut it for a while and see what happens. But there's always a wait list, so
That's nice.
we could put in lots of those.
Yes. And as a former member, I loved having my garden. I would get giddy when I would see a bud, on something.
Well, and I have to add that Deborah came in looking for a place to hang the awards, and I dragged her here. So that- possibly not by choice, but I said, this is, a great honor and she should come and speak
Yeah.
about it before the select board. So appreciate you allowing me to put you on the spot and coming
It's
before us.
okay.
Thank you.
I need to get out and talk more often.
There you go.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. so
Thank
where would
you.
like-
If you want to leave them up here,
Yep.
we will find a
We'll find a
great
space for
spot and I will let you know where they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. We should find some creative people, like those cutouts that are on the
Yeah.
wall.
Like the
Yeah.
shot, like
The shadow, the big
shadow
shadow
boxes
box.
kind of. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I also think that some of the nice grants that we get every now and then, just a plaque that's like,
Should
hey,
go
this
up,
year we
yeah.
got,
There's
Mhm.
tons of creative
It'd be
people
nice.
in
I
town.
hear
I
there
mean,
might be grants coming out that
Yep.
we could be up for some. I think we're gonna take a few things over. I think we're gonna go to 2C, which is our presentation about the rail trail and the River Run Conservation Restriction Update. I think it's the rail trail I think we're starting with. I think there are a couple members of the Conservation Commission, but not a quorum. That's because their meeting is adjourned. So they can come forward and talk to us about the rail trail and the conservation run, River Run.
And you do have a copy of the
Mhm.
draft feasibility and preliminary design study in your packet.
Yep. Go for it.
All right, so,
who are you?
Oh, I'm Robin Berry.
Sure.
I've been leading the, effort to do the work with, the Mass Trails Grant and, getting the feasibility study done. This was a additional feasibility study that the state had asked us to do. We submitted the Mass Trails Grant, which I believe was a 2024 cycle. And we had some ARPA funds that were used as the match for that grant. And so at the end of June, we completed the work under the Mass Trails Grant, and we have a couple little last lingering things that will get paid for with some of the ARPA funds that we're approved. So we're wrapping that up now and looking at putting in a grant application again with Mass Trails for the 2026 cycle. So two things tonight, I was hoping to get approval on was one, to move forward with that. I was hoping to have the proposal from VHB on what that would include, which I don't have at this point. So but basically just looking for general approval of moving forward with the next phases, which I believe would include some early design work, as well as actually, and this piece, I'm not sure if it's part of wrapping up this one or the next next proposal, but we'd be looking to meet with Highway to get a MassDOT project number. So I wanted to come before the select board before I met with Fred, just to make sure that we were good with moving forward with that next step.
And you would need to, for that's for sort of phases 2 and 3, because the feasibility study sort of broke this down into 3 phases, sort of one to
Yes.
Auburn Road, one sort of around 5 corners, and one to the Clinton line.
Exactly. So this next phase would be just for phase 1. So
Okay.
it would be from the town line, Hudson Bolton town line, over to about Coburn Road, depending on what they do. So it'll go to that point that's pretty clearly defined with the rail bed. So that's what we'd be looking to do with the next phase of this, is to kind of advance the design work there. They've done survey work as part of this first round of work that they did. So they did do some survey work and are ready to move forward.
And then for sort of the actual path for phases 2 and 3, about when that is, when would those conversations be happening?
Not until we progress
Phase 1.
phase 1
Okay.
pretty well. Like, we really need to make progress on phase 1. That's, I don't want to say it's a slam dunk, but it's pretty easy, and there's still a lot of work to be sorted out
Right.
with the rest of it. And so I would say, I mean, this is just a guesstimate, but I
Right.
wouldn't expect to see too much going on there construction wise for at least 10 years, if I
Right.
had to guess. There's so much work that needs to happen to sort out a path
Right.
and whatnot.
And if I remember correctly from the presentation, one of the advantages of doing phase 1 and proceeding with phase 1 is that we can have some successes under our belt.
Exactly.
It helps put, it makes money for phases 2 and 3, which are going to be more complicated, a little bit easier to get, because the pressure from the state to finish the 104 miles, as
Exactly.
fewer miles are uncompleted, becomes a little bit higher. And so by having phase 1 done, we'll be in
Exactly.
better positions to get more money for phase 2 and 3.
Exactly. Yep.
Sorry, I've been down. Do you have questions?
Oh, they're the general questions that have been around since the
Yep.
beginning of time for how you're gonna handle the not in my backyard. How are you going to handle, like if the trail needs repair, who's doing it? In the wintertime, does it get plowed? You know, who would be doing it? Fire and police, are there gonna be patrols? Are people gonna monitor it? What do you have for equipment? Does our equipment fit on those trails? Cell phone coverage, I go for a walk, I fall down, I break something. Who's gonna find me? You know, so I know that those truly have been since 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Those are the questions that will need to keep coming up and need to get answered. And finally, what is the cost to the town?
So hopefully I'll remember all those questions. Maintenance wise, at least in the short term, it's still gonna be, you know, friends of groups,
Okay.
getting grant funding. As part of Mass Trails, I want to say in like, it was maybe last year, they allocated a couple $1 million towards maintenance. So there is funding there, grant funding, but of
Mhm.
course it is a little bit of work. So they are still relying heavily on volunteers. Ethan can speak to that. He's setting up like a friends of group. So that's in motion. Police and fire, I spoke to both chiefs after the last meeting when we were here. We chatted after the meeting and they were both in support of it. Like I said, highway, I still have to meet with Fred, so I'm not sure exactly where he's at, but you know, and the equipment I can't speak to, but it did sound like, you know, from talking to the police and fire chiefs, that they were in support of, you know, getting officers trained on bikes and things like that. I will also say too, like, I mean, the other trails that are around here, they're pretty heavily used,
Mhm.
so chances are nobody's gonna be like stuck there alone without somebody going by. They're pretty well well traveled.
Well, and unlike one of the trails in town, the rail trail will have a flat surface that's wide enough for their ATV to go down to do rescues. And
Yeah.
so,
Yep.
it'll in some respects be easier
Correct.
to
Yeah.
get to someone there than it will in some of our existing trails in town.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Once you, this Ethan Bickford of the Conservation Mission, once you account for the shoulders on either side and all that, like, it's entirely possible you could drive a cruiser down it if you needed to, or an ambulance.
Nice.
I would need to, I don't know the specifics of what the VHB study is proposing for width, but the standard or the desired standard keeps on getting bigger. So
It would be MassDOT standards is what they're meeting. So I think
Okay.
that's 10
it's at
feet.
least 10 feet. and
Yeah.
It could be as much as 14
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing. But I don't know what the MassDOT specific standards are offhand.
What are your plans on like public hearings to hear the not in my backyard people and all the other concerns before this goes too far?
So as part of this round, we did a public meeting back in February. So I think we had about 50 people in attendance there.
Okay.
So we got a lot of good feedback on that. I anticipate that we'll do another public meeting as part of this next round, you know, kind of with every step that we take, there's going to be a
Mhm.
public meeting associated with it.
The more you learn, the more you can share.
Exactly.
Right, as information becomes available,
Yeah.
there's, having multiple hearings with the same information
People,
is hard.
Yeah. And it continues to evolve. The more this gets built out, the more funding, the more everything. So it becomes easier to have those conversations.
okay.
And so again, you're looking for sort of a select board support to do a mass trails grant to sort of move towards more design information and preliminary designs for phase one.
Exactly. Yep. So it would be to do that next grant, which opens, I believe, November 1st, and then also to talk to Fred about getting the MassDOT project number.
Chris, you don't see any problem with working with Fred to, he'll have the time for it. We're not overwhelming him for something.
We'll have to have that just conversation with
Yep.
him. I know one of the things we talked about with the CPA project was paying overtime, if that's something that we could do, depending on what their availability is for employees. And I don't know if you changed course on that when we
We
talked about
changed
it.
course on using the highway department at the recommendation of the CPA coalition about using CPA funds to pay town employees.
Okay, so that would be a question, because when we looked into it for the parking area, highway did not have sufficient time, so it was going to have to be overtime. So I think we'd have to check and make sure.
So I guess maybe I'm misunderstanding. Is that the expectation that we would be looking for the town to do the work?
Maybe I misunderstood. Are you
Because I
talking
think
we're
about
just
just the
trying to get-
Mass DOT project number?
Yeah.
I think it's just getting a project number, because the idea is that once we have a project number, you could put it out for tip funding.
Oh,
And
I
so,
see.
I
Okay.
mean, the idea is, to your other question, is to not have it cost the town anything. Like, we still have 60 to 70, say $60,000 that hasn't been allocated yet that we'll use for the match for this next grant.
And that came from the state grant that we
Yeah.
got
Oh,
for the rail
Yeah.
trail.
So at least through this next round, we should have enough funding to do our match and everything with no cost to the town. And then
perfect.
again, we'll see if the state drops some money in our lap, but the intent is not to go to town meeting and ask for funds. If the state's not ponying up the money, then
Don't know.
we don't know, it just will get shelved for now.
Fair enough. I think those two thoughts don't cost the town money and Mass DOT merged in my
Okay.
brain into highway doing work. So yeah, I can certainly talk to Fred. I've not obtained a DOT project number before. I don't know what goes into that.
I don't know
but-
either, so that's why
We can find out.
VHB mentioned that you and Fred would know, so I figured I'd come here
We'll find
and
out.
we'd figure that out, and did that answer all your questions, Peg? I think I lost track, other than cell phone, that I can't answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's gonna be one consideration,
Yeah.
but as Scott pointed out, you pointed out, those trails are, people run them
Yeah,
all the time. It doesn't matter. I've walked the one in Marlboro like at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm surprised because I pass people.
Yeah.
It's
The
other
one,
other weirdos that can't sleep, so.
the one in Sudbury is not open and the traffic on it is heavy.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And it's not even open yet.
It's technically not open, but it's seeing a lot of use,
Yep.
yeah.
a lot of use.
trash removal?
Again, I think that's gonna be, I don't think there's gonna be bins out there in the short term. I think the expectation is it's carry in, carry out, and any cleanup would be like an Earth Day cleanup or some sort of volunteer, friends of kind of exercise.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working on getting, I mean, I have a small group so far. And we're gonna keep on trying to promote that, grow it, get funds together. I'm also doing outreach, for the abutters who are not excited. But
So the other thing to keep in mind too is that there's also this overarching Mass Central Rail Trail group that's looking to kind of supplement resources from, to towns that don't necessarily have as much support or like volunteer support. So there's a much bigger effort going on here that can provide support.
Yeah. No, that-
And honestly, with the trails that are around town now, trash really isn't an issue. So I don't anticipate it becoming an issue. To-
Just anticipate the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. All right, so you need a motion?
Motion, yep. So again, I think the motion is just to
Contingently.
allow the Conservation Commission to apply for a rail tail grant for 2026 to move more into design phase for phase one.
That works for me.
And along with getting the Mass dot
And the
project.
Mass dot project.
Yep.
All right, great job on that. I'll second it.
Any more questions?
No, I think I'm
What?
done.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you
There.
very much.
thank you.
Very much. Good luck and I'm always interested in where this is going and anything I can do to help.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Have a good
Before
night.
you-
And your support.
Don't, wait, don't go.
but
You
there's
have
more.
more.
Wait,
but
there
there's
is
more.
more.
Carolyn, I thought we could just give them a brief update on the conservation restriction transfer process for River Run. I wrote up a little
Sure.
summary.
All right,
You can
you summarize
jump in.
away.
Jump in where you would like to.
Okay.
So this is sort of the ongoing saga of trying to acquire the parcels 6A and 6B over at River Run that we are allowed to acquire for $1 under the development agreement that we have with Riverbridge. I have to say, in almost 20 years in local government, I've never seen something more complicated than this. I really, I'm just kind of blown away because every layer we peel back, there's more. So the good news is that after much discussion, Sudbury Valley Trustees Land Protection Committee has voted to recommend taking on the CR, which is the first step in the process. Because as you probably recall, we cannot own a land with a CR on it or the CR goes away, and we don't want that to happen. So we have to first transfer it to that third party. Now, there are a couple nuances to them taking on the property, and the final vote is on October 23rd, but it's looking positive. They do not consider the Boundless Adventures area eligible under the CR. They find it to be an encroachment. So they are asking us to add an additional portion of the land under CR that's about 3 acres, I believe. And the issue with that is that
Not only
Oh,
add,
yeah.
but they want us to cut out the portion of Boundless Adventures that is in the CR, which is all the part that's in the trees, and swap it for land that has no encroachment.
right. And I'll explain why that's complicated in a moment.
Contiguous, correct? Not a-
Contiguous, correct,
Contiguous, but there's
yes.
still wells there we have to deal with.
Yeah,
It's not the part with the wells, I don't believe.
no,
But,
because the part with the wells is already in the CR.
right. But we don't
Oh.
own that to carve out additional land for a CR right now. So I'll get to that in a second. In order to do this, we have to cover the cost of a new survey and ground monumentation. That is estimated to cost around anywhere from $5,000 upwards. So we'd have to seek those funds from town meeting. We also have to cover what they consider a reasonable portion of their transaction costs, which are estimated at $7,200, $4,800 for the baseline documentation, and $2,400 for legal expenses, including a title review. So you're talking 15, let's just say 15,000 rounded. Here's the challenge. We cannot obtain any authorizations that would be needed to restrict an additional portion of that property so long as we do not own, as long as we don't own those properties. So we have to determine if SVT is willing to acquire those additional 3 acres from the current property owner prior to the town acquiring the parcels, and determine if the state EEA is okay with that. So that would be the next step, is reaching out to them. And we just got this on Thursday, I think.
Something like
So
that, yeah.
that would be our next step there. The only other option would be to break this into phases if SVT would be comfortable with that. Transferring the existing CR to them, then that we obtain the town meeting authorization to grant SVT a restriction on the additional 3 acres. And SVT would obtain the Article 97 authorization to release Boundless Adventures from the CR in exchange for the restriction on the additional 3 acres. I mean, if your brain goes bleh on this, I get it, because so does mine. So it is a very long, convoluted process. We are still working on it. I still believe there is a path forward to acquire those properties, but it is not fast. And so wanted to just give you an update as to where we are. It has taken to this point to get SVT essentially on board. They are happy with the possibility of holding that CR just with those essentially additional restrictions or additional costs. So the other thing we have to look at, and I haven't had a chance to yet, is I believe the last modification we did, or one of the modifications we did to the development agreement, allowed the select board to make minor amendments to it without having to go back to town meeting, because I'm wondering if we're going to have to push back the acquisition of the property date beyond December 31st, 26 because of all of this. So just want to put that out there. I will be looking into those with Carolyn and town council and Julia as we continue to move forward on this rather cumbersome project.
Okay.
Yeah. Wish I had less complicated and better news, but that's where we're at. So it is a work in progress.
It's like 2 steps forward, half a step back.
Yes.
It's not quite a full step, but it's.
Welcome to the same universe Bullard House finds it in, where they keep trying to just paint it and put historic stuff in it and do a 2 steps forward and a half step back. And
As you find more and
Yep.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
So that is the latest there.
So if we did the SVT cost plus the other 7,000, you'd be asking maybe 15,000
Ish. Yep.
ish. We always like ish.
Mhm.
Estimate,
It's a technical.
Yeah.
estimate, estimate, 15-ish. What would happen if you did it in phases? What would be that cost? I'm assuming more. So
Well,
do you do it? Do you bite the head
Well,
once?
most of their costs that they're looking for is preliminary work. So they would want a phase 1 study, which says there's no toxic chemicals or anything on the property. The survey needs to be done ahead of time regardless. The title search, I'm sure they would want done ahead of time. So most of the stuff would be regardless and at the front end.
And do we pay them every year to like oversee?
So on other properties, usually what they ask us for is a chunk of money, kind of seed money, and then they put that in their accounts and then they fund the monitoring forever.
Okay. And we're
So-
paying that now with other projects in town.
Yep.
They have.
Yep. Yes, we have a lovely chunk that they want for Powder House Hill.
In this case, I think if I remember correctly, I was just looking for the email. I think they determined, because the area is of a great conservation benefit, they're recommending to their board that that SVT cover the long-term, they call it like a grantee of the $15,000 that they talked about, that is the long-term maintenance cost.
Right, so it's to monitor, so the way they, on all the CRs that they hold in town, on properties in town, once a year, they go out and physically walk around the property, especially around the edges, to make sure there's no encroachment, make sure no one's cutting down trees illegally or doing anything else untoward. And then we get a report. We always get notified when they go, but rarely can any of those of us who work go with them, but I've gone. It's very cool. You know, they have an app on their phone that they follow the edge of the property and they mark any changes that they see year to year. So it's for those costs. So it's just to continue to monitor it over time.
Stewardship endowment.
There you
That was
go.
the word I was
That's-
looking
and that-
for.
Yes.
8,500 they're estimating for the stewardship endowment portion that SVT would hopefully be willing to.
Nice. Yep.
So you're looking at 2,400-ish.
No, that SVT, that they're gonna ask SVT to cover
Okay.
that.
Because of the value of the
Oh, okay.
preservation of the land. From what I understood with the conversation I had with her, they're very interested in it, and it does have high preservation
Yeah.
value. I'm not using proper conservation terms because I am not a conservation agent, but that is my understanding.
So until all this is settled, we continue to receive no money.
That is correct,
I was going to hold up saying that.
but I'm continuing to chip away at it piece by piece as quickly as I can.
Well, this isn't a hurry up and fix. Unfortunately, I'm sure you have multiple layers of things that take time, so it's just.
They do. And this
it's just-
predates me, if you remember.
Correct.
so-
It's just unfortunate that we're in that bind, that we are all ready to go, and instead of collecting no money to we're gonna get all the money, we are back to no money.
Right, we would have had to
Right.
go.
We
to
went from
court.
50% of the money to no money while we're in this stage.
Correct.
And so that we get 100% of the money when it's all done, yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think if COVID hadn't happened, like a lot of things, we would be in a different position here. And I'm not sure we would ever have been in this situation either, because that's when the funding issue came to be.
And
Or the
multitude of
payment
other
issue
things,
came to be.
Well, right, and other things
lots of other things. Okay, all right.
all turned upside down.
Yes.
No more questions? Thank you.
Hey, you can come on back anytime. you know?
We should have started with that and ended with that. Or something. Maybe that was better news.
You know how I usually bring you snacks at your meetings? Now that it's
You don't.
not anymore.
I don't know what we did to make you mad, but.
Well, it is Halloween season, so you
I
know.
like Snickers and M&Ms.
Right, I know that. So, you know, the witch fairy could make an appearance again. You never know.
You don't need to put on a costume.
It's,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Take care.
you.
2B,
All right.
the request to use town roads for the Berlin Food Pantry 5K.
Yes, I believe we have Krista
Thanks
here.
for waiting, your
Thank you for being with
patience, awesomeness.
Worries at all.
And you should have everything in your packet here. Krista is here to answer any questions, but they do have all of the approvals with the exception of the building commissioner who will sign off after the select board does, and Board of Health is in process. And there may be a
Yes.
liquor license component, if I understand as well.
Yes, the liquor license piece will be covered by Clover Road Brewing. They're unsure about the extra insurance. So if they come back and say they don't cover that insurance, then I update the insurance I have for the day.
Perfect.
So if you want to, for those tuning in, just give like
Yep.
a brief summary of.
Yeah.
Chris-
Pitch.
I'm Krista Bratt. I am the co-chair of the Berlin Family Food Pantry. And we would like to put on a fundraising 5K run, 1 mile walk, to raise some funds for the food pantry, starting at BMS, South Commons, and going through the center of town. A loop around if you're on the 1 mile, or all the way down, I believe it's Walnut to the Orchard and back, beautiful road for a 5K. And then afterwards doing some event, some food and beer at the end of the event.
Is that at South Commons at the end?
Yes. This is November 2nd
Mhm.
also.
No
Sunday.
rain date. Bring your galoshes.
Yeah, just hope for the
Okay.
best.
We usually do.
Yeah, always.
One thing I forgot to ask was, with it being South Commons, have you spoken with Recreation just to make sure nothing's going on down there?
Soccer's over
Okay.
officially, I think the day before. And we didn't see anything else with the school, but I didn't talk to rec. I can talk to rec.
Yeah, Felicia Lowe is the
Mhm.
chair of rec, so certainly worth reaching out, and just making sure everything is good on their end.
They have a meeting this Wednesday, so.
Okay,
Um, at least they can chat about it.
okay, I'll reach out.
You want to make the motion?
I would absolutely love to make the motion to support the food pantry 5K event to be held in November.
I will second.
All right,
More discussion?
no, I think we're good.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Easy Congratulations, you have a
peasy.
permit.
Thank
Yep,
That was easy.
yep.
Do you have any idea of, I mean, has there been any chatter of how many folks are interested in doing it or?
We're getting up there. We've got, we're over 50 runners now. We only just put it out a week ago, so
Oh,
Nice.
that's nice.
that's cool.
Beautiful.
I'm hearing buzz, but you know, they have
That's
to
good.
sign up.
Okay,
People
you
should
know
sign
me,
up,
well.
support the food pantry. Are we
Right.
allowed to say that?
yes, we are.
Are we allowed to say it? Support the food
We
pantry?
did, and it's on tape.
Do I just sign?
Oh,
Good.
that's okay.
Do I just get the final two approvals and send that?
Oh, did you want us to sign off
Oh.
on it, or you can drop it off, whichever
Say.
you prefer, yeah.
We're here. If we need.
You
to
guys are
sign,
here,
let's
yeah,
sign.
let's have them sign it while
Yeah.
they're here, and
Right, there's no yellow folder for.
there is not for tonight. I did not have anything else for you to sign.
Wow. Thank you for doing this. I mean, and you guys do such good things for the, unfortunately, for the number of families in town who need help.
growing, so unfortunately, these are needed.
And I mean, and really with the garden dropping off almost 800 pounds of food, I mean,
That's great.
it's fresh food.
Do you take pet food? Awesome, good to know.
There you go.
Obviously not expired.
Yes.
Right.
Put that out there again, because that
Yes,
is
not
important.
stale.
Yeah,
But
not drop
Not
off.
stale,
expired.
not
Stale.
open, not expired, yes. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. Let us know if you need any help.
All right, thank you.
We're at the general public comment period. I don't see anyone in the audience looking for public comment. I do not see any hands online. So let us move on to the town administrator report.
Okay, fall town meeting and the FY 27 budget season are underway and fast approaching. Just another reminder, fall town meeting scheduled for November 17th at 6:00 PM in the BMS gym. That is an earlier time, so I want to keep stressing that. I've also attached a draft budget calendar to this report because we are in budget season, believe it or not, already. So today is the warrant close date for town meeting. I have an updated list of warrant articles with a secondary list to be included should free cash be certified. I am not entirely sure that that's going to be the case, and I think I have told everybody that, so it won't be a surprise to anyone. I said, we'll put your articles on as a secondary list, and if we get it, great, I'll be prepared for it. If not, you'll have to wait till May, and no one has said to me, oh my goodness, we can't wait till May. So I think we are okay there. FinCom and Capital will be meeting to vote on the warrant articles on October 22nd and 23rd respectively. And the FY 27 capital request forms are already out, along with the FY 26 performance appraisal forms. It's 25, sorry, that's a typo. This is where we cross 3 fiscal years, so it gets
Yeah.
really fun. So FY 27 capital request forms are out. We are in FY 26 and we are evaluating employees for FY 25. So the evaluations and the capital request forms are due October 31st. Tax bills, I do have good news. The recap sheet and associated tax classification forms have been submitted to DOR and approved. So the DOR has approved our tax rate as 1406 for residential and 2114 for commercial. We are working on getting those tax bills out as soon as we can. It might be a little bit closer to the 3rd week in October, but we're working around some vacations, want to make sure we can get everything out and done properly. We don't want to rush anything and make any mistakes. For the town center project, I've reached out to First Parish Church to get on their council agenda when Lisa returns to discuss the complete street matters and potential easement for a sidewalk on the church side, and also the access agreement that we need for the septic system testing. I did also throw in the clock and the flagpole because I knew that's on there, and I said we probably can't get to that all in one meeting, but those are items the select board is interested in discussing. And I did meet with Austin Designs last week. They have come out to take the measurements for the stair design and stair renovation. They believe they can finalize the design in the upcoming weeks, which would allow us to apply for the implementation funding through CPA to actually do the repair to the stairs. So that, those grant applications, I believe, are due early November or mid-November. I'll have to check. I have it on my calendar. So provided we can get the design complete, I will be coming back to you with a CPA application request for your review and hopeful authorization. So the saga of the fire station continues. I do still have a contractor. He has not left me. He has come back with a series of questions, particularly related to what to do with the site after. There's a number of issues in terms of what we're turning it back to. There's some gravel, there's a couple of structures that are on the site. We have gotten back to him in the past week with Fred and I working on this. And I anticipate receiving the scope this week. This is the 4th contractor we're working with. So I remain hopeful because that is the only way to be at this point. We also continue to work on a Green Communities grant app for the HVAC upgrades at BMS. We have also had a lack of responsiveness there from the state. I know Dan Ayala, who's the facilities director for the schools, has been working with a couple new contractors to try to get those quotes in there. And working with Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, who would be preparing the app, as well as our new energy manager, who we now have on board through the grant we received there. So it's all hands on deck, and Tim Wysocki has been leading the charge and doing a fantastic job. So thanks very many thanks to him and Omid Mandavi, who is our fellow for energy. We are also in the process of collecting all of the data that we have to every year for Green Communities on fuel usage, et cetera, so that we can get our annual report done and we'll be eligible for applying for the grant. The line painting bid is out and it is due October 8th. I received 2 bids already today. So I am hoping that means that people are hungry and we're going to get a good price. The students from Assabet are back working upstairs. And I received word this week that both the electrical and plumbing work is far enough along to seek rough inspections for the work that is going inside of the walls. So really impressive. I have to say, as I know you know, the architect was a little hesitant at the beginning if students and faculty could really take on a project of this magnitude. He was here last Thursday and he's for the first time said, wow, you guys are going to be able to do this. So it was really great. He's just not seen students do a project of this size with this level of complexity and this level of, subs that are working together. And Assabet couldn't be more thrilled for the hands-on opportunity. This is something that students just don't get. So it's working really well for everybody. And we're moving on to the HVAC component now. I'm also in the process of setting up the first negotiations with the Worcester Teamsters for the newly formed Highway Union. And at your next meeting, I'll be asking the board to appoint a member to serve on the town's negotiating team. Also, Lisa and Tim Wysocki have done a tremendous amount of work on creating a spreadsheet that can be shared between the town clerk and the TA's office to track conflict of interest and ethics training for volunteers and employees. So basically, when we appoint somebody, whether it's an employee or a volunteer, we'll enter them into the spreadsheet. It's a shared Google Doc. We send out a letter that reminds them to complete this training. Town clerk will enter when they're sworn in, and they self-report when they've taken the training. And then at reappointment time, we can go into the state computer. We can actually confirm who's done their training, and that can drive decisions whether or not we want to appoint, reappoint, say to folks, hey, we'd like to reappoint you, but you haven't done your training. Please get this done. I've also spent quite a lot of time working on some soil importation issues in the past week and a half, just to ensure that things coming into town are in compliance with the town's like-kind soils and earth removal import bylaw. I will be giving a talk at 19 Carter this Wednesday at 5 p.m. to discuss what's going on in town and the ways in which we communicate with our residents. Also going to be asking for topics that residents would like to see discussed at future talks. So for example, if they want to talk about tax bills, bring in the treasurer collector and have a conversation. They like to talk about conservation land, bring in the Conservation Commission. And then I want to have just an open Q&A session at the very end for anything people would like to ask. So, and then last but not least, I am working with the chiefs and the highway superintendent to research traffic speeds and accidents on West Street in the vicinity of the recent fatal accident that we had in town. This section of West Street experiences vehicles traveling at high speeds. There's a curve right around Randall Road. And it's something that until you get out and actually walk the site, Fred was telling me, you don't realize how sharp that curve actually is. And we have had a number of accidents in recent years. So if you've noticed, there's a speed sign out there right now. That is not just a sign for telling you you're speeding. It actually collects data. So it'll tell us speeds, number of cars, how effective the sign is at getting people to slow down, et cetera. And then this data will help us determine next steps that we may want to take at this location. And that's it.
Peg, questions?
What are our plans for a notification to the town folk regarding the November 17th meeting over at BMS? Usual
Warrant going out in
Blinky
the
sign.
mail.
blinky sign, paper, online, item,
Yep.
Facebook, okay.
And since they're not gonna get the mailing until a couple weeks ahead, I think when Dee gets back, even a couple of there will be a town meeting, agenda to
Those
follow.
things.
Yep. You can
To
do a
start getting
TBD
it out.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Or not
yeah,
TBD, but
yeah.
more info to follow.
Yep, yep,
We can
I-
make some flyers too.
right. I actually even think the what you have in the agenda for us tonight of likely warrant article, even though not the final wording, gives people an idea of what some of the
Mhm.
topics will be, even
Mhm.
if it's not the actual wording of the motions.
Right, because everywhere we dropped off old Powder House news, we can put them up, so
Yep.
you've got them at on Pleasant Street, the different communities, over 55 communities, store, post office, et cetera, so that folks know.
We have the Canva. Dee
Mhm.
has the Canva software now, so she can do some pretty good flyers. I'm sure we can get something going.
are we absolutely positive that there's no issue? So where the old fire station is now, when you go down the hill, there's a stream that sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there, that there's no issue with conservation or anything we do with that land. Cause I thought that the original was just flatten it, grade it, dirt, grass, flowers, something.
That's still what it is. It's to make it pad ready for whatever you want to put on it going forward. We did have in the draft bid docs I'm working on that they have to go through all of their approvals, conservation, historical commission building, but I can preliminarily reach out to conservation and get that checked on.
Okay.
I didn't even know about that stream.
Yeah,
down there,
sometimes
so-
there's a stream, sometimes there's not a stream.
Okay. No, thank you for letting me know, because it doesn't hurt to get that checked out as sooner rather than later.
And when more information becomes available, we'll get it out, because I know that the neighbor now had reached out to me when we first started discussing this and was not pleased that they were unaware of all the things that were going on, and as an abutter, why weren't they notified? Yeah, I know, Mr. Fly is like
That
whizzing
fly
around.
is really bad. We haven't done anything yet other than allocate money at town meeting, so.
I know, but when we start to get plans.
Yep.
Can we just
Yep.
make sure to,
Well, when there's all the hearings for the permits.
Yeah.
They will get notified.
okay, all right, then that's it.
And we
Um,
do post it on the agendas for the select board as well as the town meeting warrants.
And everybody, when people have questions about the tax bills, the tax collector is not, then the treasurer is not the person to ask those. I mean, they prepare the bills, but they have no say in the policy of how much your taxes are.
That is
You
correct.
know.
It would depend on the types of questions
Right.
that they're asking,
Right.
like how does the process work versus how is it assessed from the
Right.
assessor? There,
Right.
there's different levels.
Right, the assessor does the assessor, that, again, the biggest thing that it determines your tax rate bills are the budget passed at town meeting. And
Mhm.
it's done by, in theory, all the taxpayers who
Yeah.
care
Don't show
enough
up.
and can make it to town meeting.
It's true.
No, I'm fine. Consent agenda for tonight. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. Is the minutes of September 22nd and 29th. Lamala 1-day pouring license at 19 Carter for an October 24th event. And a notice to appoint Patricia Frost as COA van driver, which I think it would be the second driver, is not the first driver.
It's the first.
First
First
driver.
driver, okay. So we'll have a driver for the van. Is there anything on the consent item you would like to pull for discussion?
And I'm just on the COA van, so, obviously, be very interested in number of rides, where they're going, number of passengers, so all that data that will either support the need for or show that there is no true emergent need for that. But I'm sure that the COA director is all over that, knowing that I had made that comment to her in a few meetings back.
I guarantee she is, but I will remind her nonetheless.
Coolio. Other than that, I'm good.
Do a motion?
I make a motion to accept the 3 items on the consent agenda.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Other business. Berlin Boylston Regional School District Strategic Planning Focus Group Session invite. For,
Just a heads up.
right, is a heads up. Does it look like there'll be a quorum of select board at that meeting on the 14th? I can't make it.
It does not because you can't make it and Lisa is out of
Lisa's not
town.
Okay.
So I don't know if, are you wanting to go? Sure. I will let them know.
The 14th is Tuesday. Okay.
Be a discussion and potential vote on changing to a .gov domain.
Yes. So this is interesting, and this is something that I mentioned at the last meeting, but Chief McQuillan brought up this to me a little while back, and then Lisa, when she got on the board, brought it up again. And within the next couple of years, I think Chief said probably 26 to 27, FEMA will be requiring us to have a .gov in order to access their online portal system. So it's a security measure. It's something they're moving toward. So I reached out to CM Geeks to see what the process would be to migrate to that. And it actually was a lot simpler than I thought it would be. I've never looked into it before, so I wasn't sure. The first thing I did was ask if we could obtain a domain from the folks at the federal.gov people. And we were approved for a Berlin MA, all one word, .gov, which is typically what most cities and towns have. There are, as you know, multiple Berlins in New England, even at least. So we wouldn't want to be just Berlin.gov because I think we might get things for even Germany. So that has been approved. And then in terms of the process to transfer over, obviously it would be a process internally and externally. CM Geeks can do aliases with Gmail, which would be relatively easy. I reached out to our website, to Civics Plus. They can switch us over, no problem. Internally, I think we want to roll this out in a way that we update our logo, letterhead, kind of do a branding thing at the same time, because if we're going to have to go through all this, as we've talked about before, we kind of have people using different town seals, and it'd be nice to sort of have something with like a standardized font and size. So I don't anticipate this would happen right away, especially as we are moving into budget and town meeting season, but I just wanted to get a sense from the board if this was something you'd like to move to.
I agree technologically it's not that difficult. And I think you control the timing of it pretty well. You can get the domain, and if you own the domain and don't tell anyone about it, it doesn't do anything. And then you can decide when you're going to announce it. And you can do aliases and forwards pretty easily. So if someone went to townoberlin.com, it would redirect
It would
them
bounce you.
to the correct one. And you'll probably want to do that for a couple of years. And you could even, there are some tracking stuff to let you know how many people got you from a forwarder. So you can just watch that number sort of go down. And so I think when you do this, there'll be a period of time where it won't matter which one you send it to. And then you can do that. And I think, having a style sheet for the town where it says, if you're doing things, we use this font in our stuff. This is what we use for our logo, so that we have some sort of common thing across it, I think makes total sense.
Agreed.
And so do you want to do a motion of going forward with a .gov domain?
Yeah, I make the motion to begin the movement to berlinma.gov website for the town, or a domain address rather.
I will second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. There you go.
There we go.
And I knew Lisa would be on board since she asked me to research it, so.
Fall special town meeting calendar update draft list of warrants, because we get to close the warrant list tonight.
Yes.
Yes, we do. So I did have a couple last minute additions this afternoon, so I have updated the list in your packet as late as 12:54 this afternoon. But the first thing I'd like to go over is the calendar. So here's the interesting dance we're doing right now. So as you know, we have two board members this evening. We started talking about this before. At our next meeting on the 21st, we will only have two board members. And so
A different two.
a different two,
two.
correct.
And on the next meeting, there will
Will be
be,
again
yeah,
a
the
different-
different two.
So in the next 3 meetings, we have all 3 permutations of 2 of us.
We
Yep.
do. And so the 27th, so it all depends on the comfort level of the board. If you want to add the meeting on the 27th to review and sign the warrant. As I mentioned earlier, I plan to have a full in as final version as possible warrant for you on the 21st. And then FinCom will review and take their votes on the 22nd and 23rd. We're looking at less than a 15 article warrant right now, even smaller if we don't end up having those financial articles. So my goal is to mail it out October 31st. The deadline to post it is November 3rd, and that gets us out about 3 weeks before fall town meeting. And we do have that town meeting information session scheduled here at 6:30 PM on November 13th, which is the Thursday right before town meeting, to get folks up to speed and those who want to be informed and
Yeah, we'll
ask
need-
questions
yeah.
before town meeting.
We'll need lots of skinny on that one so that people know.
Yep,
Right.
we'll make sure we add that to
And-
the flyer too.
Sort of my argument against sort of doing a meeting on the 27th is that I'm not here for the meeting on the 21st, but I'm also not able to make a meeting on the 27th. And so
Okay.
hoping the 2 of you on the 21st can finalize it. And I think you can decide on the 21st. If it looks like you need something else for the 2 of you to finish something off,
Correct.
call a meeting.
Yep.
I think the plan is that tonight we'll look at those 15, that we'll do a preliminary vote of the select board and sort of, I think from a Robert's Rule of Order, hold the vote open until next select board meeting so that Lisa can add her
Mhm.
vote to it. Gives Peg an opportunity to change your mind if you
Mhm.
wanted to. And I said, I'm totally fine with that happening.
Okay. And what I can do too is as soon as I have the warrant in its final form, I can circulate it out. So you all have a chance to just independently look at it.
Yep.
And if you have a major issue, you can email me, obviously not everybody, but I can at least
Yeah.
call those comments together for the next meeting.
We'll see. I am planning very limited internet access while I'm on vacation, so,
Okay.
but.
When are
the-
you headed out again? I know I have it on. my phone,
I'm leaving at 3 AM on the 16th.
but- Oh, I'll have it done before.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm gonna do agenda setting with you on the 15th.
Yes.
Um,
walk
and so
you
the
through
agenda
them
looks
if you
fine. I am always, I always think that something should be out to people more than a month ahead of time so they can, those people that do
Mhm.
plan schedules can. But I think, we're already beginning to say it, if we start posting it, that's really happening. We can hopefully help turn it out. And so people getting the actual thing just 2 weeks out with the actual wording will
Mhm.
be okay, because it'll be available online before that as well anyway. And so, can we look at the articles then?
Absolutely.
And which is the one at 12:54 is the one that we're looking at.
That
right?
is the one. So I can walk you through it. And I've started putting them into a draft warrant format. It just isn't complete, so that's why you don't have it. But the first article would be right now the only essentially finance article that we have. It's a request to repurpose funding for the old fire rescue building demolition. And this is one, Peg, where I may need your help with, because I went back and I did some research on this today. We had $50,000 allocated at the 2024 annual town meeting for the Brown Barn and the parking area at the rec courts. And I have an email as of last September that rec was not interested in moving forward with that parking area at the time because they were going to do a master plan.
Mhm.
I'm not sure where they're at, so that's something I need
Okay.
to reach out, but I know they have a meeting. If you might be able to
Yep.
help me get some info on that, because I don't want to bring this to town meeting and then they go, hey, wait a minute, that's not our plan anymore.
Okay.
So I'd like to confirm that, but provided what they had said last year still stands, We were able to do the demolition of the Brown Barn with ARPA funds in the amount of $16,775. So it'd be very beneficial if we could put this $50,000 towards the demo. It is more complex because we have the hazardous materials we have to deal with, the demo, as well as getting the site pad ready, if you will. So right now we have, let's see, 2040, just under $50,000 appropriated. So this additional 50 would go a long way to bringing us the full amount that it looks like we'll need for the demo. So that is Article 1, similar to what we did with the roof money that was left over here that we transferred to this back at the special town meeting last fall. Any questions on that one?
Nope, that one looks good.
Okay. The next one I put in, I'm jumping a little bit out of order, but adopting MGL, I'm down under the other section because I put bylaws last.
Yep.
Adopting MGL Chapter 90, Section 28A and a half, which would be the non-criminal ticket system with a parking clerk. So I've started some preliminary research into this. So this would be our ability to issue tickets. And you would have an appeals process through a select board annually appointed parking tickets hearing clerk. I'm familiar with how that process works, and my understanding is it's just an adoption of Mass General Law. We'd have to see if the existing ticket printers in the cruisers, I forget what they're called, MDLs, or would be able to print these tickets, because I think getting ticket books is archaic and expensive as we looked at. So that's one question I have under here is how we would.
Possibly only that I thought we had solved this problem 2 or 3 times. that
And we
kept
haven't.
Giving parking tickets, and I think we keep passing rules and motions and other stuff to allow us to do parking tickets, because
Okay.
when we first had the vehicle that was parked overnight in the center of
Yes.
town, there was some sort of
Political sign on
for
it. Yep.
days. We're like, oh, we need to pass these motions so that the police could write parking tickets and we could potentially tow away a vehicle that's
Correct.
been abandoned in the center of town if one had been.
So
And for
there-
this to come back, that again, is
We
just
still haven't
one of
done
those
it.
frustrating things that will this make it so we can write parking tickets?
Yes, I mean, I used this whole same exact system in my previous community. The issue with you can write them now,
Right.
but they have to go to Clinton District Court,
Correct,
as
and
the
that
chief was
costs money.
explaining, and there, you end up spending more than you bring in.
Well, you wouldn't bring anything in because it's not a parking ticket I mean, it's 4 hours of a police officer's
Correct,
time, blah,
correct.
blah, blah, so wouldn't do anything. And
Yep.
didn't we hire somebody to be like parking czar or?
No, I thought we appointed someone as parking clerk. I thought that was part of the whole last conversation.
I
So
thought
didn't have
we
a parking
did.
Clerk, and I thought we appointed someone as parking clerk, and
All right, let me do some digging into it and just make sure we haven't adopted that already.
June, do you remember anything like that? All right, I swore that
Okay.
we did, that there was a constable in town that we appointed as parking guy, but then it just died. Okay,
sure.
All right, I'll do a little more
Yep.
digging into that one. If we don't need it, then
Yep.
I will talk to the chief about figuring out a way to implement
Yep.
if we already have a mechanism other
Yep.
than that non-criminal disposition. Article 3 is a request that the Housing Trust had to allow the transfer of property vote to change from a 2/3 vote to a simple majority. It would assist the Housing Trust in transferring land for affordable housing projects. It could also potentially assist other groups as well. But this was a request of the trust, so that is
Yep.
why it is on there.
Mhm.
And that even if it passed a town meeting, would not have an effect at town meeting. It would still have to go to there's a vote later on at town meeting to transfer land. That's still required 2/3.
That is correct. This does not allow the transfer of any specific property. It just changes the vote on a specific property to
Yep.
simple majority. Speaking of which, the next article, the Housing Trust has requested we bring back the transfer and disposition of Legion Hall, which did not pass at the last town meeting. So that is back on here again. The Housing Trust is requesting that Legion Hall at 15 Lincoln Road be transferred to a developer of single-family affordable housing, and that would be done through an RFP process, should this article pass.
And that it got more than majority, but not the 2/3 at May town meeting, with some people thinking there was a better use of that building. Has anyone come forward with a better use of that building?
Not
Or
to
even
my
another
knowledge.
use of that building?
It's not been brought to my attention.
Well, here's the thing, here's a better use of the building. Do you have money?
Right.
Do you have money? Are you going to take this building? Are you going to
Well,
be
just
responsible
another
for the
viable
upkeep?
use of the building, I don't think it's come forward.
No,
Not that I'm aware of unless something's come to another
Nope.
board
Nope.
that just
Nope.
hasn't, come
Nope.
my
I
way.
I don't believe so. Okay,
And let's see, then I have as Article 5, the authorization to acquire any easements that may be needed on Carter Street, Central Street, and Woodward Ave for the Complete Streets project. We don't anticipate needing them on Central or Woodward, but there is a possibility of one on Carter, and the recommendation of the engineering firm was to authorize the select board to negotiate any easements that might be necessary as they do the design plans. And I have the language recommended from the engineers from other towns that have done that would go in there. So it basically, it's giving the select board the authorization to negotiate those easements. And I do believe there will likely be one on Carter Street. We already have some question of basically parking area outside of 19 Carter and where their land ends and where Carter Street begins. So that's one of the ones that we may have to look at. But we're researching if there's an existing easement there. And if so, would the town have to seek an additional easement to comply with the existing easement that's there? So right now, the only one that's been identified so far, and we are only in the conceptual planning process, but the only one that's been identified is possibly Carter Street.
Mhm.
Any questions on that one?
Nope.
Okay. All right, and then the next one, believe it or not, we jumped to bylaws.
yep,
So we talked about amending the town meeting bylaw, and this is where I need a little bit of feedback
Right.
from the board. Because there were a few kind of questions that came up as to whether or not you'd like to actually implement these. One that was discussed was a time limit on town meeting comments, and that I'd have to research. I'm not sure if we can do that or if that falls completely under the purview of the moderator, because it is the moderator's meeting. So is that something you would like me to research? Okay.
because I know the
Yeah.
school board, school committee does that. They slap up a big 3 minutes on a screen.
Okay.
yeah, but it's different for the board meeting versus the
Correct,
town meeting. But yes,
correct.
I would love to get a time limit for a speaker on the topic.
So time limit on comments.
Yep.
The other was, can we just strike the time for annual town meeting from the bylaw altogether, which would allow you all to
Which-
set the time?
Right,
annually?
set,
Yep.
strike the starting time, which
Mhm.
I'm in favor of.
Okay. And so the other question with that is, do we strike the date? Or one idea that came up was, can we move it to the first Wednesday of every month? And the reason that came up was actually from speaking with the superintendent. If we ever wanted to use Tohoto, Boylston books it for Monday and Tuesday in case they have overflow from their Monday town meeting. So Wednesday, Thursday would be best for us. We could also just strike it and then set it every year.
I like knowing that it's the first Monday of May.
Mhm.
And we might have more discussion on it later on, but I think for this meeting, if we can just get the time struck, so we don't start at 7:30, we can potentially start at 7, or if we think the agenda is big, we start at 6:30.
Correct.
I think that extra half hour to hour solves probably
Mhm.
the 4 that you brought up too.
Yeah, okay. So depending on number of warrant articles, et cetera, you
Right.
can adjust the time.
Right.
So just the one thing to keep in mind with that is we will never be able to use Tohoto if we keep
Yep.
town meeting on the first
Yep.
Monday of May, because Boylston has
Yep.
theirs too.
We
So-
may not be able to use Tohoto right now. That
Sure.
doesn't mean this
Right.
time next year. We go,
Right.
oh,
I mean, I can try to negotiate. I don't know how that'll go, but.
no.
And then the last question was, do we require a vote to continue the meeting at 10 PM instead of 11 PM?
Yes,
I'll say, I don't think I want that one,
really?
really.
Okay.
I think, I mean, I think we try to get something done in a night, and 11 is really as things start getting later. I mean, if we voted 10,
Oh,
we potentially have,
2 left and you're coming back.
I mean, we do that now at 11, when you have 2 left, people might
Right.
still go back, but I think at 10, you're more likely to have 3 or 4 left as opposed to 11. I don't think I forever want to not debate. I just, for this man, I want to try it a little bit more, because we start a little bit earlier. I'd like to see how often we really like finish at 10:15 or 10:30.
I mean, that's a fair point, because if
Mm.
we can perhaps time limit comments, so no one's up there for
Right.
15 minutes.
Right.
And we have the ability to scoot the time
To stop that
back,
based on the number of warrant articles.
then. All right, you know what, I'm okay with it going to, based on what we see for information over the next few town meetings.
Because I also worry that this becomes too much meddling with the history of town meeting. If we have 4 warrant articles or 3 warrant articles, mess with it, then that might get more opposition than like, hey, let the select board just fit the starting time so that,
Okay.
you know, the starting time, sorry, I gotta make sure I'm always facing this. Although you and I rarely have the problem that you can't be heard on the microphone, but
I, Lisa. Yeah, no, I'm fine with it,
Yep.
staying at 11, so Kristen, if you wanna strike through, require a vote, that's fine.
All right, so we'll just leave that one off. So then that leaves us with time limit on
Yep.
comments, striking the starting time,
Yep.
and
that's
that's it.
good for now. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So that would be Article 6, and then Article 7 would be amending the personnel bylaw. I know there's been some discussions. Lisa had let me know that she had spoken with one member of the Personnel Committee before she left. She didn't get a chance to speak with the chair about dissolving the Personnel Committee, with the understanding that those responsibilities have been taken over under the Town Administrator Act. My understanding is it was a favorable conversation, and there was understanding for not having that need anymore. The roles of the Personnel Committee now are to confirm job descriptions, set the COLA, which is also set by the Select Board, and confirm any raises that are recommended by me, but those are also recommended by the Select Board as well. So they're also right now do personnel policies, but I think as we do a policy change as a whole, it would make more sense to bring personnel policies under the Select Board. And we draft all the job descriptions with a standard format in our office as well and forward those. So they could come to the Select Board instead. I do have experience. The other thing you can do rather than dissolve is you can make the Select Board the Personnel Committee. So there's different ways of going about it. Lisa did pull some information together that I can share with the board if this is something you're interested in moving forward with.
I have mixed feelings about dissolving the Personnel Committee. I don't want it to appear as a power grab. I don't want it to have now 5 more things, Kristen, land on your plate that makes you unable to get to 10 other things that are on your plate. I mean, for things like job descriptions and working the COLAs and working the compensation. To me, I like not a disinterested party, but someone who is, or some ones who are not tied up in day-to-day government stuff. I mean, I'm not a fan of huge oversight, but I am not comfortable with dissolving the Personnel Committee.
I get to the same end with it from a different path, but I don't. I was hoping that fall town meeting is some of the things that would help shorten May town meeting, and I don't think this is a settled matter ready for this fall town meeting. I would, like, if the Personnel Committee had made a vote and came to us saying we're ready to dissolve,
Right.
I would be ready to put it on the, but I think the conversation is still ongoing, and I don't want them to feel like they have like 2 weeks to make a decision on this.
Mhm.
I'd rather more, I think that one can be pulled off.
Well, and the thing too is that if you're dissolving the Personnel Committee, that means that the TA bylaw needs to be redone, because there were multiple references to you working with personnel. So all of a sudden, now you don't have a Personnel Committee. What does that do to like your oversight? So I'd almost like to see them work in tandem.
Well, right, and that, the second point would be
Right.
to address any inconsistencies between the TA bylaw,
Right.
the personnel bylaw, and the employee.
Right.
But how
handbook.
long does that take to
Well-
change the TA bylaw? That's my concern, is that now you don't have a committee who was responsible for that. So now all of a sudden it's yours. Well, wait a minute, why is it hers? You had, it's ugly. It has an opportunity to get extremely ugly, and I
Do we have a list of those inconsistencies?
Not at this point.
Yeah.
Right, so I wouldn't put it on for this, I think I am for a fall town meeting in 26
Okay.
to address the inconsistencies, because we have time to really look at the
Mhm.
three of them
Mhm.
and clean up the bylaws where,
Yep.
so the TA bylaw doesn't refer to the personnel committee and get there, sort of,
Mhm.
and I think that makes a great task for the personnel committee, if they're looking for things to do, is help us find those inconsistencies between the three and recommend which they think is the
The top hitters.
the which, well, what is the right one, you know, if it
Mhm.
says you get a half day of this, I know
Right.
this is not inconsistent, but like one says you get a half day off and one says you get a full day
Mhm.
off, one says you get 2 days off. What's the right policy for the
Correct.
town?
Right, well, and those are
And-
all policies.
yeah.
The bylaw would.
It's a bad
yeah,
example, it's a
right.
bad example. yes.
I think this would be a legal counsel with Labor Council. They're the ones who have identified that there are inconsistencies right now in between the TA and the personnel bylaw.
Yep.
And I completely understand your concerns. The one thing I will say is all of those things that we've mentioned the personnel committee does,
Right.
I prepare them all anyways.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be extra work. There's nothing being actually prepared by the
Yeah.
personnel committee.
I'm okay
Yeah,
on holding.
I think this is one of those, I think that the best of intents are here. I
Mhm.
think I agree with the direction this is going. I think because other things have gone on, we've just not been able to give it the attention to make it ready for town meeting.
All right. Makes sense. Okay. Article 7, then, if I take that out.
Yep.
Would be to amend the revolving fund bylaw. And that would be to create a fund for the earthworks permit fees for our new bylaw that we have that should hopefully be approved shortly. And we also need to increase the spending limit from the town hall revolving fund, which is capped at 40,000 right now, but considering we just received a revenue
Yep.
of 60,000, I was thinking of raising it to 100,000, but I wanted to get your input on it.
For me, the need to raise that is a success story.
Yes.
In
Yes,
some respects, they're
yes.
bringing in enough money that we have the ability to spend money, because if you don't have money in the account, you don't have, you don't have to worry about this
Right.
fund. And so,
Right, because unfortunately, the town hall has never been self-sustaining, which was the goal from about 4,000 years ago.
and so what do you think of the number of 100?
I mean, it's up to 100.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, that's fine.
And that's in one given year.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and then you also have the opportunity to revote that number every year because those limits get set at town meeting.
Okay.
But this at least will allow us to use some of that Apple funding mid-year to
Right.
address
Do stuff.
septic in case we can move forward with a
Yep.
plan.
Some of the painting in the inside sort of stairwell, or
Yep.
the tread thing that people raised, or.
No painting for you,
Exactly.
not until the end of season 10 of that series.
That's right.
Yep.
They like it just the way it is and the grass long. Which I know is a point of contention, but
Well, it was a point of contention until people understood why the grass was long in front of the town hall, and they were like,
yes,
oh, well, that makes sense.
right.
And then it was done.
And I mean, I think in exchange for a little bit of grass for 60 grand, it's understandable.
Mhm.
So, all right, so that's the revolving
Just
fund
what the
bylaw.
renter of the property wanted.
That's correct. And then there was a discussion of amending the board and committee bylaw to state that if you miss more than 3 meetings, the chair can report the position as vacant to the town clerk, and then the position becomes a vacancy and can be filled.
And I think right now, as long as we're 3, that is definitely viable, because if you're only all of a sudden going down to 2, again, there's preconceptions about that. Maybe it will change when we go up to 5, but I would like to see
I think
something
this
in
is all
place.
committee.
It is, so there
That's
are other
all
boards.
committees? Oh,
All-
Yeah,
then yeah,
I think it makes sense, and I have language for it.
And there are mays, just because, I
It's
mean,
May,
if
yeah.
I know you've missed 3 because you had a sudden illness and you're still like through the intermediary sort of,
Mhm.
this is my opinions on things, I'm still following along, then it doesn't mean automatically after 3, but you know, a lot of these things only meet once a month, and so 3 in a year is still a quarter of the meetings.
Yep.
If I do my math right. So yes, I'm in favor of that one too.
And I'll give you a really quick, great example of why it's useful. I had a situation in my previous community where somebody moved to Florida and no one could get in contact with that person to ask them to resign. And then it turned out the person actually was receiving the correspondence, but did not want to resign, even though they lived out of state, because there were some cognitive issues going on. So you could not remove that person from the board until it was reappointment time.
Well, that was kind of like Scott's example last year, for the recall, that's
Right.
Scott does something bad and goes to jail, but
Right.
still has the opportunity
Zooms in
Yep.
and zooms in.
for the FinCom. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that
Well, to be
would,
fair, I think the example was me, Scott.
oh, I didn't mean,
Scott
I
did
just,
that.
I used
Yeah,
FinCom
Scott.
as an example. I wasn't
Yes.
talking about Scott, the other Scott. That was just the first board that
Yep.
popped into my head. All right. And then, this one I've got to do a little bit of digging into, but we talked about creating a revolving fund for the fire permits
Mhm.
and being able to use some of that fund to offset the cost of the online fire, permitting.
Yep.
So need to look into that to make sure that is viable. Also talked about updating the, parking regulations for unposted town, speed roads with unposted speeds in town, and I have the draft language for that here. So it would be enable the town to establish a speed limit of 25 miles per hour inside of thickly settled or business districts. So it would require town meeting to adopt the provisions of MGL Chapter 90, Section 17C. So,
And then after that, assuming that passed and went through all the things you have to do at the state to get it passed, then who gets to decide where those are in town? Is it you through the chief who recommends the select board and the select board votes on it? We have a town parking, traffic
safety,
advisory,
yeah,
traffic safety advisory committee makes those recommendations.
it would
and-
apply to any unposted zones
Right.
because they are currently 40 miles an hour.
Right.
So this would change any roads with unposted to
Right,
25.
so they would then take an action to post it on some roads that somebody might want it.
Yeah, I can find out what exactly
I just-
action would be
I
taken.
think that's gonna be one of the questions we get is
Sure.
then what is the process to get my road posted for more? If that wanted, and I think if I was waving magic wands and my gut is, I think I would like the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee to make a recommendation, the select board be the final people, because I think if something like this, the select board should be the final say.
Yep.
But I think Traffic Safety Advisory Committee is
Mhm.
the place that,
The people with the
the people
information
who would
to
have the
do this,
best
yeah.
idea of like, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea.
Okay.
Because I imagine there'll be a few places in town we would want to potentially have posted to make sure they're above
Right.
25. And I might drive some of those roads because I think some of them I'm thinking about might already be posted as something.
God, I don't even know.
Yeah, I'd have to drive, I'm gonna drive a couple that I have questions on that I don't want to say out loud just because.
Everyone will be driving
Cost
them.
man.
and,
Well,
you
people are
know,
driving it, but I could be wrong that it's posted and so it's an irrelevant conversation and I just don't want to look silly.
All
Good.
right. So
Yeah,
I
we
think
keep
it's
that.
an automatic, but you're right.
Yep.
Some people may want to get it posted and I would agree traffic safety followed by a select
Yep.
board vote would
Yep.
be the appropriate process. All right. And then this may be our last article, would be Article 11. It is a zoning bylaw amendment of section 444.3 regarding drive-up facilities at highway shopping centers. This is sponsored by the planning board. There also is a citizen's petition for drive-throughs. My question, since the citizens petitioner is sitting right here, are you intending to withdraw your citizens petition or are we putting both on the warrant?
I would still, I told them that I would, pull mine, but I still have multiple questions on the wording that they have. So I will be extremely curious to see what the feedback is when they have public, sessions to discuss this, because I had very specific information on the two overlay districts. Theirs just seems to target one with some other language, so I'm still not comfortable.
Okay, I got the language. I don't know. I got it actually yesterday,
Okay.
so I can share with you.
I think we keep it. I expect that at the next select board meeting,
Okay.
you and Lisa will
Yeah.
decide whether or not it's
Yep.
one motion or two competing motions.
Right.
Uh,
Or if you put it on, then I
Right.
stand up at the end of the meeting
Right.
and say,
Right.
pass over.
Right.
See ya.
That the previous motion took care of
Correct.
enough of my need that I don't feel this has to be
Correct.
voted on and I asked
Yep.
for a motion to pass over, yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I'm truly waiting on public feedback on
Okay.
this. And how it's explained at town meeting.
Well, I was gonna say, the explanation is that it would allow drive-up facilities for restaurants in the Highway Shopping Center Overlay District, which includes Highland Commons and the Regional Shopping Center Overlay District, which includes Solomon Pond Mall.
Yeah, if both of those are in there, and I also wanted them to make it abundantly clear that those were the only two spots, because I was met with multiple feedback of it best not be at, and they rattled off like 3 locations
Right.
in town, and I'm like, no, it's not my intent. And
Right.
off the highway, on the highway, off the highway, on the highway. So I want to be sure that that's thoroughly discussed,
Makes sense.
but I'm happy to pass it over.
Okay, I think there might be a process with the town clerk for withdrawing your petition, otherwise we have to put it on the warrant.
I'll figure it out by next
Yeah.
time.
Okay, I made a note too to
Yep.
ask Eloise.
Well, and again, if there's not, no one stops at that point of the meeting for you to stand up saying.
Right. I pass over.
I want to pass
Right.
over, right? Because,
Right.
So
and that is the
with-
least, when sometimes we're faced with the least wrong answer is keep it
Correct.
on it. Because if you remove it and then it turns out you want to discuss, you don't have the ability. So,
Yep.
So with that, that would make 12 articles. However, I have a request for another 9 financial articles if we're able to put them on. But
Right,
some of them
and-
I don't think we necessarily would need to, even if we could. So I don't know if you just want me to go through those
Right.
quickly.
Once you go, so we'll have to know by next week whether or not they're gonna be on, where it gets,
The-
2 weeks.
Yep, the
2
20,
weeks,
yep.
21st. So before you go into those, I want to state that of those 12, I'm in favor of all the 12 that have already been mentioned, that we've kept on the agenda.
Okay,
Agreed.
So when they do a formal vote next week, you can count me as an aye, provided none of them substantially change, including the citizen petition.
all right.
And so your on hold requires certification of free cash. Do you want to start talking about those?
Sure. This one was put on after you spoke with Beth Stores about elections. It was the $8,000 for new voting booths. I mean, if we had the money, if not, frankly, it's been a while. I think we could make it through another couple of elections if need be.
Well, the thing is too, is that I can't remember the date for the ADA grant. It should be soon, shouldn't it, that we
Yeah.
Yeah.
hear?
Although one year they gave
Uh,
it to us in December
I
and
know,
told us we had
but there
6
was,
months. to
a
use it.
chunk of money in there that I had put in for ADA voting
Yeah,
so
booths.
full.
Right, their intent, I believe, is for really using it for the September 2026 elections, primary elections.
Mhm.
To have it voted on at May town meeting makes it a little tight to try
For them
to
to order it,
get the
get it.
bids, the
Yep.
orders, get trained and get them set up and ready. And so I think that's why they,
True.
all things being equal, would like
Mhm.
at this one, and I would like, if again, we have to have the certified free cash to be able to do it, but if we
Yep.
could, that's one of the ones I think that makes sense to do now as opposed to wait till May.
Mhm.
So, yeah, okay. The second one is funding for the landfill monitoring as required by DEP. I have requested a quote from Board of Health. I haven't received it yet, but I also had a conversation with DEP about other matters going on around town. And they said they're completely willing to work with us as long as we know
They
that
know
it's
it's
gonna
gonna
go in
be-
May. They will work that into their timeline that they're gonna
Yep.
give us in their compliance letter.
I would love this again to be in fall town meeting, because again, it's one of those, it's to do that gets us another known number that we could continue to move forward on doing what's right to protect
Mhm.
that land. Again, as you point out, it will not be a disaster if it turns out not to be able to do it because but if we can certify free cash and we have a ballpark number, I'd love to see that on.
I'll follow up
On
with the Board of
this,
Health
yep.
on that, because we haven't talked in a few
Yep.
weeks about that. This one, actually, the chief will be coming on November 3rd to speak about this. He has done out a lot of numbers regarding starting up a Berlin ALS program. And the first request that would get things off and running, paramedics training, is quite lengthy and expensive. The request would be for $33,000 for 2 paramedics out of ambulance receipts or public safety mitigation, depending on where we're at with funding. So he has a plan. He will be bringing it forward. The amount of revenue that comes in offsets. There's just that initial upfront cost.
Mhm.
And he has a regional approach. He's been working with Hudson and Boylston on this. So
I'm feeling because we've not had a chance to discuss this, the select board to agree that we're moving forward with this, even though we might or might even likely. I don't know if it's ready for
yeah, you know,
because I think
Mhm.
this would become a distraction, the meeting of a conversation of whether or not we should be doing ALS.
Mhm.
And I don't think
Yeah.
we're ready for that by then.
Fair enough.
I appreciate that he's thinking proactively and,
Mhm.
the right timelines, but, we're just not at the point where I think we're ready for this for town meeting.
Okay, I think we'll understand that. Okay. And then we need that additional $6,000 to do the class and comp study because the state decided not to fund community compact grants this year, except for IT. I really think this study is important to do. I feel like we've gotten up to where we need to be on union salaries, but not on non-union salaries. It's been since FY20. I feel pretty strongly about this one. I just don't want to start losing people and we need to see where we're at. As I mentioned before, the study looks at area, not just necessarily Worcester County, but also the market that we're in along 495. It looks at positions that are traditionally underfunded because of gender roles. It's a very comprehensive study for job descriptions as well. And I do have an idea for this I wanted to float by the board because I would really like to move forward. In the town administrator budget, I do have consulting money that we use for typically Weston and Sampson for Maplewood. We haven't used it all in the past couple of years. If we can't get this on, my proposal will be to float the funding out of that and request it at May town meeting if need be. I really think we need to move on it.
If we have certified free cash, I have no problem having it on. I'll point out that the one we did in 2020 was probably the first one we've done in decades.
Agreed.
So as a history rep, I've been doing it every 5 years, but I agree that because we've not been doing it on a regular basis, it does cause other problems. And so I'm fine with it being on the agenda, assuming we have certified free cash.
Yeah. I mean, I have some concerns,
Right.
Kristen, about taking the money out of that budget because things happen.
Yes.
You know, so if, say that it's 6,000, you give up 3, so the ask is 3 or something like that. But I would much prefer that you leave something in your bucket for a rainy day.
Well,
Because you may not need it now.
it's true. And we did cut those expenses close. And we are picking up a bit with some of the soil matters.
Correct.
So
Mhm.
this was my plan before that all started.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
good point. The other one was going to MMA, the annual conference in Boston. There was talk about sending board members. The budget that we have right now has funding for 2 spots, which last year at least was Dee and myself that went. It does end up costing about $1,500 a person. It's not inexpensive. I think it is very important for the board to go. So either Dee and I don't go, or we add some funding at town meeting. If we wanted to add for 2 board members, we'd need 3,000. For one, it would be 1,500.
I would put it on.
It's a really valuable conference, and I do think board members should attend. I just don't have the funding,
Yep.
you know,
No,
to do it.
I agree.
Okay. And then the 15,000 for the CR transfer to SVT
Yep.
that we just talked about, if we can,
Yep.
put that on.
Definitely.
All right. And then the last 3 are capital items. The BMS roof has come up several times,
Mhm.
and I did get an updated quote from the schools. It is just shy of $350,000. It is something that we are going to have to do. And the thought was it might be beneficial to separate it from the
Mhm.
annual budget discussion because it is a distinct and
Mhm.
separate matter. So the schools are willing to come and speak to FinCom and
Yep.
Capital. I already confirmed with them. I think it's worth having the
Yeah,
discussion.
I've been a big proponent of taking this
Yeah.
off of their annual budget process. It's a roof that has to get done. It's a
Correct.
building that we own as a town. If we get certified free cash, I definitely would love to see this on
Mhm.
November town meeting.
Okay. And then the last 2 are from PD, getting a jump on things if we could before town meeting. And that is again, trying to do the cruiser at fall town meeting instead of at the spring because we save and we get it faster. And the body worn cameras have to be replaced. So it's 85,000 over 4 years for the body worn cameras. For 27, we would need 35,000 and the cruiser would be 77.
And do you have a sense if those are coming from free cash or?
Those would be public
Public
safety
safety.
mitigation, but that's the same. I
Yeah,
mean, it
yeah.
still has to be.
I know it has to be
certified.
certified, but
Okay.
how much we're draining from what funds?
Correct.
Yeah, I would have to look at the budgets too to see where we're at.
I-
I know we've drained public safety down significantly. That would be my first choice if
Yep.
we could fit it in. If not, then it would be free cash.
And then for the BMS roof, I haven't looked at the numbers recently.
That would have to be free
but-
cash.
Well, whether or not it can come from stabilization.
Oh, it would require the vote of town meeting to take it out of,
Yeah.
take the funds out of stabilization.
Yeah, I at
Okay,
least,
I can look into that.
I at least have FinCom give that a look. I think we've done good at putting money into stabilization. I think our stabilization is in pretty good shape. Requires a 2/3 vote instead of a 50% vote. But if I think we're going to invest in the school, I'd like to think, and especially as the size of that number, I'd love to think that 2/3 vote is gettable.
Mhm.
I'm gonna put June on the spot for a minute.
Yes,
Stabilization to take money out require certification of free cash?
Do you hear
So-
that, Peg?
I did.
no, but if you're doing it as special, it requires a little bit extra, I think, as far as the votes go, but yeah.
Yeah, but we already need a 2/3, so it'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Would you
I
like me
would,
to
I'd love,
add that?
I'd love to think we get like 90% plus of people wanting to make sure the school doesn't fall apart because of the leaky roof, but, and the school's getting a quote and then being able to get a run, that means that in the spring, because you're obviously not doing a roof in the middle of winter, but it means that, maybe when we do Maytown meeting at the building, that it'll have a nice roof on it.
Well,
Yeah, so look
That
into
could go
Yeah.
on then,
I would put it
no
on.
matter
yeah.
what.
I would make sure FinCom is okay and believes that we're also doing okay with, because my gut that we're doing okay with stabilization is just my gut, and there are people who are closer to those numbers that I would trust.
No problem.
And so you can make that adjustment next time, I'd be fine. And if it turns out it's not on because they want to take out our free cash and we don't have it stabilized, it goes to May. But I-
Peg, if you're comfortable with that, I can make it Article 13.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Need it better.
I don't know, is that lucky 13?
Could be
Mhm.
lucky. Well, then it'll be 12, then
That's
you can
be-
pull your
but-
petition.
Well, but I think citizen decisions always have to be last.
Yes, I do.
They do, you're right. So that would actually be Article 12.
Yep.
Mhm.
Good. Again, all the ones we've agreed to keep on the agenda, I am 100% in favor of, and would make a yes vote when the select board does their final votes next week.
Okay. So that's where we're at.
Great, so let's move on to D, preliminary discussion on updating film policies and fees.
Yes. And given everything that's going on, I don't have recommendations in there yet, but Scott and I discussed at least getting them on the agenda so we could have a preliminary discussion and get some select board input on what you would like to see updated. One of the things we wanted to do on the fee schedule for the film permits is get some input from some of our surrounding communities and see where our fees are. I do have to say, during the process of Apple, we did some of that research and we're not bad. I mean, a lot of towns around here don't have anything. So, things get blanketly approved or they get one application fee and that's the end of it. So when this research was done back in 18, it was clearly done well. I don't think that we need to make major changes, but that is one piece of it that we will do. So that's why the schedule, the fee schedule itself is in there. And then obviously we need to put it in the new policy format, or need to fix the form so that it's not
Select board.
selectmen
Mhm.
and select board. So,
And addresses.
Yep.
The right one is in there.
and Dee may have some suggestions too.
Yeah.
She worked with this more than I did with the last couple of film companies, so I'd want to get her
Right.
input on what
I'm
works.
almost thinking of like, we've done this now a couple of times, what has worked and not worked? What questions did we ask them that turned out to be totally silly and not relevant, and what did we wish we could have asked them that made sense?
Well, and I'll tell you, one thing that
Like,
came up
do
was
they
a
want the lawn
checklist.
mowed in front of?
Oh.
Correct. Correct.
One thing that came up was a checklist for public safety, because one thing that we came across was the last or the second to last folks that showed up with a private ambulance.
Ah.
And
Right.
we should be paying for a
Oh.
town ambulance,
Yep.
but wasn't a question that
Right.
we had asked
Asked
on
them,
the
right.
permit. So
Right.
things like that.
Didn't know they could have potentially have borrowed one at a fee, and
Correct.
one that looked more legitimate and real, and yeah.
Correct, and
Uh-huh.
obviously the EMS director would prefer that we use town employees, it's on town-owned property,
Yeah.
or,
Well, or at least maybe 911 knows that there's an ambulance being parked in the center of town, so we start getting calls like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're filming, that's fine, there's not a problem,
Right. Exactly.
And some was the clarity of how much you need for me is where's the line where you need this when it's on private property versus not?
Yeah, it's a great.
And I don't know where you
question.
come across that, if I decide that I'm becoming an influencer, whatever that means these days, and I'm doing filming on my property to produce something on my property, do I need a film permit? The person renting my property, regularly does posts, promoting their business. Is that really a filming? Probably not, because it's not, but there's the line, because someone did it on public property, but it included
Right.
some explosions or some other stuff that
Correct.
for it, and that caused 911 calls
Right.
and
Well, and if it involves anything in the road, like the right of way.
anything in the
so
roads, yep.
That's where we ran into the last time. There was the last film crew that was here did it all on private property,
Right.
except they asked, could they store their equipment on the side of the road?
Right.
So that's where it came to you.
Yep.
So, but we will have that conversation too.
Other than some of the technical stuff, again, making sure everything says select board and not select man.
Yep.
It's only been,
Forever.
10 years.
I was gonna say, how long ago did you change?
We'll exercise that.
A while.
Yeah, okay.
Right. It took several even tries even.
Yes,
wasn't
it did.
'Cause-
Yep.
One question on these, since we won't have the three of you until
Right.
November 3rd.
Right.
Do you want me to just work on some of these and put them all on for the 3rd? Or
You won't have them on the 3rd. I am out of
Because
town.
it's Not yet, again, we're not as a 3-person select board until town meeting.
Yeah. So Scott's gone. So Lisa's gone,
Right.
then Scott's gone,
Right,
and then
and
I'm
Peg's
gone
I
on
didn't
the 3rd.
authorize your departure.
I don't care. So then truly the next time that we're meeting is the 13th,
Yeah,
which is the pre-town meeting.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
before there's all three of
The
us.
13th, and we don't do really any business. on
No.
the meeting of 13th. So
Right.
at the 17th, at town meeting, before town meeting starts, we will do a couple of quick items, but
Yep.
that's not usually where we do a full agenda either.
No.
Correct.
And well, I'll get it when we talk about upcoming agendas. And somehow we managed to do that. All three of us are taking vacations all about the same time and are never leaving the town without a quorum.
Right.
It was nicely done, actually.
Yeah, totally.
Although I
accident.
totally missed yours somehow. I don't think.
I know.
I think it was the last meeting. I said that I wouldn't be
Yeah.
at the November meeting.
And to be, the second meeting is going to be a little bit in jeopardy. I arrive at midnight the previous day. And so if I miss a couple of planes or something gets delayed, there's a chance I'm not back in time for that meeting. It's just Lisa, which means no meeting, but
You're not bringing the bat phone so you can tap in from wherever.
Yeah.
no, well, it depends on where I get stuck, right? So I
Fair
do have a couple of transfers on the way, but I will probably make a point on that Sunday to at least text you about like my progress so that you're not learning about it at 4:58 or 5:58 right before a meeting.
Excellent. That'll be helpful.
But yeah, for the most part, that it is, I think it's some of Dee's stuff from her experience, making sure we do a select board on it. And potentially some of that just clarifies when this is needed and when this is not.
Okay.
And then the other policy we're going to look at tonight, which is the same one, which I
The 1-day special license. I actually wrote this policy in 23. And I did have a chance to go through this one. I think this policy is working well.
Mhm.
The only suggestion I have is if the $40 per day for the 1-day licenses is a little low, I think it should be 50. That's where I'm used to seeing it in most places because it is not the nonprofit or the town entity like the rec committee that pays that fee. It's the brewing company
Mhm.
and they are making the money off of the event.
Correct.
So I think $50 raising that fee would be a little bit more in line with where I've seen other communities be at. I left it at 40 at the time because that's what our fee schedule was. But this one seems to be working pretty well unless there's other changes to it that you would like to see. We're getting more and more of them too.
Correct. So
We
that's
are.
why, an extra $10 here and there for multiple events
And the liability insurance is not in question? How much insurance they have, we don't need to raise, I mean, your policy is only a couple years old, so I don't think inflation
Yeah,
is eating those.
I'll double check, but I
The numbers
believe.
looked fine to me, but
Yeah.
The insurance is not super expensive. We had the questions when I had an event at 1870 Town Hall that wasn't, there wasn't someone selling any alcohol, but I was, had some beers and wines available, and we actually went and got liability insurance for that event. And
It's smart. You can get
Yep.
it through your homeowner's
Yep.
insurance.
well, your homeowners doesn't cover it.
You can get
Yep,
we usually can get a policy from the broker who
Right, yep,
offers your
yep,
home.
yep,
Sorry, yeah,
yep,
that wasn't clear.
yep. The 30 days per calendar year seemed.
That's a statement.
Is a statement. Well, no, but we could have tighter if we wanted, right?
Oh, let me check.
I don't know if I necessarily want to just. And I don't think, I feel that some people come back a ton of times, although I don't think anyone is near 30. And I don't think I want to restrict some of those people from doing it, but it is, some of, like 19 Carter does it most Saturdays, Fridays and Saturdays, or Saturdays and Sundays. They mostly do most weekends during the summer. I don't think that gets them anywhere close.
The mall, we had, do you remember? I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks worth of them that came for the mall, and that was only like
Right.
15 or
Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel.
That's the
need
only one
to-
that's gotten up
That was
there.
only over a couple months that they had like the summer fest.
And we'd want to support that again.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yep.
So maybe we don't spend any time looking at the 30 days. Sorry, I'll take that back.
Okay.
I want to save you some time and energy on something that wouldn't result in a change likely anyway. And that, never mind. I was going to go somewhere would be a bigger discussion. That's not necessary. Okay. I like the way it is. I think going to 50 is fine.
Yeah, it's not a
I'd make
huge-
a motion that it's, we increase the liquor license, the 1-day special license policy to $50.
Seconded.
Can also confirm that the liability is in line with
Yep.
current recommendations.
Yep. Yeah, and to confirm those current recommendations, all in favor, say aye. Aye. I would not have that obviously take effect for any license that we've already approved.
No.
No.
There are new ones
And
going.
this would be likely impacting more next summer because we're wrapping up the season where we get more of them.
Okay, so I would do it approved
Yeah.
as of this date. So then anything coming in after today would be
Yep.
subject to.
Right, assuming you don't have something sitting in your desk right now that could be in the interim. Well, I'll trust your
If
judgment.
it came in prior,
Yeah,
it would
yeah.
be
Yeah,
grandfathered
yeah,
in
yeah,
under the
yeah, yeah.
old
I
price.
will trust your judgment on the exact implementation as long as it's recent, soon. Where did my agenda go? I think that is our agenda up to board questions, liaison updates. Go for it.
So rec, where's rec? They're working on their fall planning event at the end of the month. They're also looking at adding some additional programs, some boot camps, some yogas. I've been asked to potentially find a home for the pickleball nets, because they do sit out, all winter and can get yucky and bent. So I have a spot in mind. I just need to go take a peek and see if there is anything in there, and then I will follow the process to formally request the board, and loop in manager of a building that I'm thinking about putting them in there. It goes in before it snows and it comes out after the courts are clear, so it wouldn't be for long periods of time. At the last rec meeting, I had asked for an update on the AED and was told that their contractor is still working out on closing open permits. I think they meet Wednesday, that I can go find out. They were going to review the job description, hopefully get some comments back to us, and also working on reviewing the playground project in terms of types of equipment and what's going down on the ground. Concom, business as usual, working with the folks at Sawyer Hill, Highland Commons, to verify some boundaries up there. there was a request from an attorney regarding the Solomon Pond Mall that they needed a certificate of compliance to get Solomon Pond out of receivership because it was something that happened back in the 90s that was supposed to be looked over and no one really knew what the person was talking about. Therefore, there had been no issues, so they did grant the certificate of compliance, knowing that whatever work is going to come up at the mall, there's going to be more permits and investigations, so there wasn't a problem with that. They're working on their land management, hopefully adding QR codes to various signs so people can wander around and not get lost. They're working with schools, Tohoto, on various programs for volunteers and also working with the library on various programs. That's all I got.
Quick question on the playground. Did you get any feedback? Is it in the right direction? Are they reviewing it? Okay.
They were reviewing it. It was handed out that night.
Because that is the one I have the most concern about on running out of time.
And I had had a discussion with Felicia about with that they needed to move or else we needed to claw that money back and put it somewhere else. So
Thank you.
I will reinforce that at their meeting and, you know, talk to them about the land that was next to the old brown barn, if they had any plans for that or if they're just fine. So I can get those to you.
Thank you.
Yep. That's all.
Have we talked to, by we, have you
Me?
talked to the people who are working on the pavilion about whether or not the town barn, old town highway barn might meet their needs? I don't even know who the person.
So I talked to Tim Wheeler
Right.
because he went down with some folks from
Yep.
Historical and Planning
Yep.
Board. And they are coming on, well, no, they were gonna come on November 3rd, maybe we'll bump them out. To discuss, I invited folks from Rec,
Yep.
Historical and Planning Board to talk about that, because my understanding was, can the barn be repurposed as
Yep.
the pavilion? And I don't know if they've made the connection with Rec on that yet.
I don't know, but again, my comment on that is, that's great. You know, you may have a couple committees that say, oh, look at this nice old piece of history. But who ponies up the money to fix the building? Who ponies up the
Well,
money to keep?
The same pile of money we have to build a new pavilion. The money already exists.
The I would think it would be CPA.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
again,
the money to move it, instead of build it, the money to maintain it would be the same money. I mean, whatever money they were going to use to maintain the pavilion that was going to go there would be the same money you would use to maintain the pavilion if it's moved from another location.
And I don't know what's going on with the pavilion, because I know that they were going to move it across the street, but that then changed when they were
Mhm.
looking at redesigning the whole
Mhm.
land. So I don't
Right, so I think
know
it's
where the
getting,
pavilion is.
right, so I think it's getting sort of, again, Rec and Historical and we'll,
get everybody in the room.
yeah,
Yep.
But I think the second meeting in November, probably,
the meeting on the 2nd,
that's the 17th, so it won't be the second meeting in
right, and
November.
we don't have another meeting in November
So-
after that.
December,
Except December 1st, I was hoping to get Historical here to talk about 1870 Town Hall and the Bullard House and the future of that, keeping us going down, talking about different buildings.
could we
Yeah.
do both since they'll be here for that?
If we don't end up with a super long meeting, we could.
Okay, we'll put that as a question mark.
Because I was hoping that we would settle on that meeting on December 1st for the 1870 and Bullard House discussion.
Mhm.
So that because I know there's people in town who have a lot of opinions about both of those buildings.
Mhm.
And if we give them a month's advance notice, more of them would be able to
Right.
free up their schedule, potentially be in the audience. I think we do that as a public hearing so that we can call people in the audience. Because from my standpoint, if it's not really part of a public hearing, I'm not calling on people in the audience.
Nope.
Maybe staff or chair of a committee, but that I just, our meetings are not just random conversations about things, even if there's people in the audience with opinions.
Mhm.
I want to keep that to public comment and public hearings. And so I'd like to do that December 1st, and maybe since Historical wants to be at both, and planning might have some opinions on both. You know, that we hit sort of the pavilion first so that Rec can leave the room if they don't have an opinion about 1870 Town Hall and the Bullard House.
Mhm.
But I was gonna do them, just, there's so much interplay between the two of them. I thought having a conversation of them in separate weeks doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. No, you want all parties together.
And so we'll hit it together and
That makes sense.
we'll make that work.
And to keep the rest of the agenda light, I made a note
Yep.
for that.
Yep.
Okay.
Which will be hard because we will not have met in a month, so. We might decide that at that 17th meeting before,
We meet a
Uh,
little earlier.
before the town meeting, we meet earlier, and if there's business stuff to deal with, we wouldn't bring a chief in for a presentation on where we're at for public safety, but there could be agenda items we want to pound out. A consent agenda even, so that on some of those things.
And you're away on the 10th,
No, I'm away on the 2nd.
so if we really get.
Yeah, if we
done-
really need it, we could have a meeting on the 10th, which would give us 2 meetings that week, because on the 13th we would do other stuff.
Yeah, because you can't do the 24th really. Well, I mean, I guess you could, but that's the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the
No,
week
It's
of that,
not-
no, we're not gonna do a meeting the week of Thanksgiving. I always feel bad that the Monday after Thanksgiving, but still, I think we're doing December 1st.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think that's my list. You ready
I'm ready.
for a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn at 8:33.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.